and now I lay me down to sleep. I pray my soul is mine to keep, and if I should step outside this bed, I will give in to all evil, now back from the dead. He's here. I'm John Renton with the retro review of My Soul to Take, written and directed by Wes Craven, the second to last movie that he directed. Because Wes Craven would die about 5 years after this. Rest in peace, Wes Craven, one of the masters of horror. I can only imagine how the sales pitch went for this particular movie. Hey Wes, your reputation precedes you. You've directed and written a lot of iconic movies, and even your stuff that hasn't been perceived as all that great still has some pretty good character work and some pretty good violence. So we'd like you to direct this schlock. We have this idea. And he's like, you're right, this is schlock. I don't want to do it. We'll give you $5 million. Fine. I want to be able to have final say on writing and edits and everything. It's like, well, we can't guarantee that, but just write it and we will give you this boatload of cash. Fine, I'll write this goddamn thing. I don't give a shit. If you want me to write something absolutely bullshit, I don't care. People will absolutely love me long after I'm gone, while they'll hate this fucking tripe. And I could see him saying that. AKA the Ole Anderson in WCW method / mindset in 1990. If you are not a wrestling fan, you have no idea who A, Ole Anderson is or what WCW is. Let's just say if you are a longtime wrestling fan, you are exploding with laughter right now. So yeah, Wes Craven. Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, even Cursed. Yes, I retro-reviewed Cursed recently. It wasn't very fucking good. I would argue this movie is worse than Cursed. Cursed had a troubled production. I talked about that in that retro review. This one also had a troubled production. Some of the opening stuff was reshot, and a lot of the third act was reshot, and by fucking Christ could you tell. Apparently test audiences were like, we don't like what we're seeing. So they reshot it and made it more incomprehensible. This movie fucking sucks. This is absolutely abysmal. Wes Craven couldn't have saved it. Nobody could have saved it. You could have resurrected Alfred Hitchcock, any master of horror. You could have John Carpenter involved. You could have every single master of horror, past, present, future, involved in this. And it wouldn't have fucking saved it. This is in that weird glut of like 2008 to like 2012 horror movies, that weird 4 to 5 year period where so many mainstream horror movies seem the same. You had the Friday the 13th remake, you had the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that came out in this same fucking year. And when I saw, My Soul to Take from Wes Craven's in 3D! Yay, okay, let's just work the 3D gimmick to death. It was like Final Destination, or The Final Destination in 3D, and then Final Destination 5 in 3D. I also retro-reviewed those. Check that out. The star's a bunch of idiots. I'm just going to say right now, it's not even that the people themselves are idiots, but the characters are just totally one note, yet they try to give them depth. They have motivations that just go completely off the goddamn rails on a crazy train. Max Thoreau, I assume that's how you pronounce it, is the main character, Bug, who has a bit of a backstory, which I'm just going to spoil right now because fuck you, and also the movie's been out for 12 fucking years. There was a killer named the Ripper, and not Mind Ripper, not that. If you've seen Mind Ripper, I'm sorry, but this guy named, oh God, Jesus, he was named Abel. They might as well have just had, a son named Cain right there, so goddamn on the nose. He has a happy life. He's building a dollhouse for his daughter, for his young daughter. He has a wife that's gonna have a kid soon. And also he's possessed by a killer, a demon, something. Serial killer, not really sure. They don't really provide any explanation. Not that you need to, you just need to have fun. But in this case, they try to make it so serious. And so, oh my God, we can't stop this great evil. And yet you simply can. You just have to go stabby, stabby, stab, stab. At the right point, aka the conclusion. But this Ripper has possessed Abel, and now Abel is not able to cope with it, and he ends up stabbing his pregnant wife, but the baby survives. Also, you get some weird spirit hands in the womb. Mommy, let me out, help me, Spock, help me. And then a bunch of premature births are happening within an hour of each other. The Riverton 7, as it were, because it's set in the town of Riverton. Not Rivington, because the bird ain't the word, the bird anyway. You know that how that song goes. By the way, the Rivington's version was much better than whoever the other band was. And basically, Abel ends up being stabbed, shot, but he keeps coming back and he kills a cop, he kills his doctor, and he ends up in an ambulance. And then this paramedic gets stabbed that somehow is still alive. And then this cop somehow, even though he's involved in this ambulance wreck that ends up becoming kind of a memorial because the ambulance just sits there after being set on fire because it explodes because movie. It turns out that Abel actually is still alive. He is very much alive, in a sense. He's coming after the Rivington 7, the Rivington 7, the Riverton 7. You know what? Rivington 7. Fuck it. Let's just call it that. He is coming after them, and he's going to kill them because they were born the same day that he died. That's pretty much it. If this plot sounds incomprehensible, believe me, I've tried to explain it the best way possible. But who is the killer? Well, could it be Bug, who actually turns out is the person that was the baby in the womb and somehow was a miracle birth? Could it be that? Could it be the blind black kid? Could it be the best friend or whatever that clearly has issues like a bad home life or the stepdad abuses him? Ooh, maybe it's a religious girl or whatever. Or maybe it's clearly not the red herring of Bug and it's actually his best friend. Am I beating the fucking sarcasm drum too hard? Sorry, this movie basically just pretty much broke me. I saw this when it came out in theaters. And then actually did rewatch it sometime after I had moved a couple years after that and was like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll rewatch this. And I hadn't seen it in about 10 years. And it actually turned out to be worse than I remember. This movie is fucking dog shit. 16 years later, these kids are all somehow in their early 20s, including one that plays the character of Fang/Leah, who I believe the actress was 21 at the time. But then again, nevertheless, you always will get slasher movies where teens are played by at least early 20-somethings, if not sometimes mid to late 20-somethings. But they have that fountain of youth, and you just have to believe it. Buy into the movie, illogic. So, every fucking teen is stupid. I don't care. They make fun of the whole Ripper thing. They have this costume. This costume that turns out to be a conduit for somebody to do the killing. And by the way, it's Alex. It's the best friend Alex. Why is it the best friend Alex? Because why go after the red herring when you could just go after that? Because it's a way to get to Bug. It's a way to bug him. Ha ha! Fear ye the Reaper. And then people start dying. Characters that don't fucking matter. There's this one redhead named Penelope who's very, very religious, is trying to console a girl that this bully, Brandon, had gotten pregnant. Turns out she's the principal's daughter, so that's not going to go fucking well. But she's going to pray it away. She's going to pray that things work out. And then Penelope ends up getting killed. The costume actually kind of reminds me of a precursor to Sinister. Like, if you see it, you will understand. But yeah, there's also a side story about California condors being endangered, and Bug gets this idea, and with Alex's help, they pick on a bully by pretending to be a giant condor that flies around and pukes stuff on people. You know, on its victims and everything. Because it will eat carcasses, it will eat the dead and create new life. It's a metaphor. Or an allegory. Or an agonizing thing. I think it's agony, actually, is what I think it more or less is like. Footage of the birds, very subtle, like an elephant on stilts, as my best friend says. And, yeah, one of the guys is blind. And they really don't reference that at all. This movie felt like they just shot scenes, put them together in random order, and just said, fuck it, that's a good enough final print. Character motivations just shift from here to here. People will be on one side, and then suddenly, oh yeah, we'll just do this. People just go all over the place. This one girl gets chased through the woods, but then by this bully Brandon, but then he gets killed, and then she gets killed. Everybody just starts getting killed. Fear ye the Reaper. And since it's obviously not Bug doing the killings or whatever, the explanation just turns out to be absolute bullshit. There's this, the mother, who's actually not the mother, it's the sister, and brother too. No, it's the sister, it's Aunt May. No, really. She was her sister, Aunt May. Doesn't look like Marissa Tomei, who apparently somehow has found the Fountain of Youth. But it turns out that this girl that's this bully that picks on Bug is also his sister. And she was a little girl from the very beginning that was very, very traumatized by the whole goddamn thing of seeing her dad go on a murdering spree, as any child would be scared by. And there are certain things that'll happen, like there was this dollhouse that the father built, then Leah smashes that, but she gives a little rocking horse to Bug, and that was like in the very beginning of the movie for like a minuscule amount of time. And May's upset, and then more people start dying. Alex kept disappearing, reappearing, and it turned out actually that he was the killer because he was possessed by the Ripper. And then Alex gets stabbed and gets killed, and Bug's hailed a hero. This is the second worst movie that I've seen involving something named Bug. By the way, the worst one was a 2006 movie called Bug. I cannot believe that this movie actually got released in theaters. I mean, besides slapping the name Wes Craven on there, I cannot believe, besides having some young, good-looking people for the time that were there, just put them there, put a bunch of teen or like early 20-somethings, mid 20-somethings that are playing teens, put them in a movie like this, and it'll make tons of money at the box office. It ends up being an incomprehensible mess that goes absolutely fucking nowhere. And it's actually fucking frustrating. Because was there potential here? I guess. The guy was coming back to claim the souls and everything. There was another side story about a nurse's family, or actually she was a cop or a coroner cop, whatever, that had a family in Haiti that talked about, it's about like somebody that has multiple souls in them. If the body dies, the soul remains. There are just so many ideas that are thrown in the fucking blender, spun around to a beautiful oblivion. Rendezvous, now I'm through with this review. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this movie is a fucking goddamn atrocity. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.